He's the tallest man on the radio, so sit right back and enjoy the show. Flying through the air like a ballistic missile. Here's your host, Ben Kissel.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to OK Bud Politics, the podcast where everything's gonna be okay, bud. I am Ben Kissel at Ben Kissel1, joined by Kyle Ploof.
Hello.
At Kyle Ploof. Shoot us an email, okbudpod@gmail.com. Also, watch live on Patreon at patreon.com/diebud. We are in the beginning stages of building a cool new set, so we're gonna be hip just like all the other podcasters that are hip. Isn't that cool?
That's going to be great.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we have a bunch of stuff to get to. We're going to discuss the Supreme Court when it comes to their decision on Donald Trump's immigration policy. Disagree with the policy, however, the Supreme Court, its decision is not so much about immigration, it's more about presidential powers. So we will discuss that. We're also going to break down a little bit of what's going on with Israel and Palestine, specifically what's going on in Gaza. And also in America, we have a place called East Palestine, which we are going to discuss and not let them be forgotten. Before all of that, we have a clip from Joni Ernst. She's walking through a cemetery, one of her favorite places to be, which is interesting. The cemetery has a Venn diagram of goths who are super cool, people who love horror movies, people who want to see trees bleed and ghosts, and then very, very bizarre evangelicals who want to go there to, I don't know, mock the dead?
Yes.
Which is exactly what she does in this clip. Last episode, we discussed the potential cutting of Medicare and Medicaid, two things that I believe need to be off the table. As a nation, we need to take care of the most vulnerable, as again, we spend billions of dollars on foreign war and so much government waste, which Doge did a horrible job of finding. My God. But let's play this clip from Joni Ernst responding to critics of what she said in a town hall when she mentioned, it doesn't matter about Medicare. Who cares about Medicaid? We're all going to die.
We're all going to die.
Which is true.
That's true.
I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize.
Next level
and
troll.
I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well.
Oh, boy.
There she is, Joni Ernst, doubling down on her statement that everyone is going to die, which of course is true. The question is, how is everyone going to die in the wealthiest country on earth?
Well, with their lack of Medicaid.
Yes, hopefully people have the right and ability to die with dignity as opposed to being spoon-fed crappy oatmeal at a crappy facility that can't wait for that bed to be turned over as if it's a shitty diner in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting situation going on right now when it comes to veterans as well. I want to talk about this. The most recent budget bill, it would cut veterans' health, which is something that cannot happen, veterans' health care. This is according to senior officials at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. They have ordered that VA physicians and scientists not publish in medical journals. What is happening here? So basically, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, which does more to protect the state than it does the patriots that fought in the battles that the politicians sent them into, has asked VA physicians and scientists not to publish any articles regarding the care that the veterans are receiving in veteran facilities.
Because it's all experimental.
It's being gutted as well right now, and up to 8,000 veterans are going to lose potential aid when it comes to the recent budget cuts. So an article warned that canceled contracts, layoffs, and planned staff reduction of 80,000 employees in the nation's largest integrated healthcare system jeopardizes the health of millions of veterans seeking help for conditions linked to toxic exposure, ranging from Vietnam veterans exposed to Agent Orange to veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan who developed a little thing called cancer after being exposed to smoke from piles and piles of flaming toxic waste. You'll recall those videos of the tires burning and soldiers standing around as if they were at the world's worst Woodstock, watching, inhaling, and obviously all of that a massive detriment to their health. So because of this, many different doctors and scientists have put forth educated, peer-reviewed articles saying, hey, we can't really deal with a staff reduction of 80,000 employees right now and canceled contracts and layoffs because our soldiers are in desperate need. And even that cut would cause them massive, catastrophic injury, further injury in their lives. So that's just something interesting going on as these people, again, gave the most important thing you can sacrifice, which is your health, to this government and to this country to go fight in foreign wars that may or may not be just. We need to treat them much, much better when they get home.
Yeah, at the very least, they could have the results of their, health be published for things that they were exposed to. It doesn't need clearance. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Well, that's what the government's saying. They're saying it needs clearance so you don't give up any secrets.
Yeah.
The big secrets is that soldiers come back all fucked up.
Yeah, that we're killing them ourselves.
Did you know that? This is the biggest secret the government's ever withheld.
You guys just hold off on telling people that. It doesn't look great.
Soldiers come back all messed up.
Oh.
What does Chris G say there?
It was human poo and JP8 fuel, also particulates that cause chronic sinusitis, asthma, and cancers. It's what killed Biden's son with the brain cancer. Oh, shit.
It's what killed, what was it, Bo, or what's the other one? The one that people liked. What was the name of his one brother the son that everyone seemed to enjoy?
It was Bo, wasn't it?
Was it Bo?
Bo's the one that died.
Bo's the one that died?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, there you go. Let's stick with the Biden administration. Bo Biden died of the cancer.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the Biden administration. And I want to talk about, speaking of poisoning, I want to talk about a story that is not in the headlines anymore. CNN's forgot about it. MSNBC, did they care? No, not really. They want their ratings, and that's about it. Also, this took place in a very poor white rural area that mostly contains people who voted for Donald Trump. So they don't get the sympathy that others might get, despite the fact that Norfolk Southern still has not paid the consequence for what happened in 2023. The Biden administration, by the way, Donald Trump did say Joe Biden was a clone. He said Joe Biden was killed in 2020 and was a clone.
I mean...
But if he was a clone, he would have done a better job.
Right.
That's the problem. If you're going to clone him, they made him dumber.
Well, if you're going to clone, you got to, match the standard that you're trying to achieve.
No, make him smarter. But then they were like, well, he's always been kind of dumb and saying weird things and sniffing on kids.
Yeah, sniffing kids and women.
So we'll make the clone exactly like that, but slightly worse. I wish he was a clone.
Yeah.
God, we need our first clone president. Anyone's going to be better than what we have.
Well, BJ Penn's family could do that then.
Oh, indeed. BJ Penn, the UFC fighter who believes his family's been abducted or murdered and replaced with said clones.
Yeah.
All right. They're Hawaiian. Wouldn't be the first leader from Hawaii.
Right.
So the Biden administration has admitted, finally, only about a year out from when they actually had power, that yes, indeed, the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, it did cause cancer.
Yeah.
It did, believe it or not, when you have water coming out of your taps that is piss yellow. And when you have smoke filling the air of your area, when you have trains that are just on fire in your backyard, believe it or not, it is not the best thing for your health.
Yeah.
But of course, the Biden administration, because they didn't want to claim any responsibility whatsoever, and naturally Norfolk Southern, the train company that had this derailment, They said this happens all the time. It's not our fault. Infrastructure in this country is falling apart. This is another example of it. And of course, this derailment would not have happened if there weren't certain cuts to our infrastructure. And I believe that happened in Donnie T's first administration. It takes two to tango to fuck over the people of this country.
Yeah.
So explosive new emails show that the White House indeed did know that the people of East Palestine, Ohio, were going to be suffering cancer, despite the fact they said, everything is fine, don't worry about it. Much like when Barack Obama decided to go over to Flint, Michigan, and fake drink the tap water, followed by a statement saying, it's great, I drink it, I love it.
Oh, it's perfect. So smooth.
He didn't even drink it. He fake drunked it. He was like
because you got cancer.
pervert. He was a pervert at a bar who wants to get everyone else drunk so he can diddle him in a bathroom, but he doesn't actually take the shot.
Right.
So this is according to FEMA recovery leader James McPherson. Thank you, James, for all of your hard work with FEMA, one of the worst run entities in the government. You look at people in North Carolina right now, they are still suffering from what happened with the floods and the tornadoes and the hurricanes and everything else. They're still suffering in North Carolina, and FEMA has done jack squat to help them out. FEMA recovery leader James McPherson wrote in March of 2024, the occurrence of a cancer cluster in East Palestine is not zero. So isn't that easy? It's not zero.
Not zero. Anything's not zero.
It's not zero. He goes on to say, as you all are aware, the first 48 hours of the fire created a really toxic plume.
Oh.
Can you believe a plume?
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of pretty and nice. Sounds like something you might wear as a decorative brooch, a nice plume.
Toxic plume right there.
Toxic plume.
Right on my kerchief.
Just months earlier, President Biden, he scolded. He gave a big scold to Norfolk Southern.
Oh.
He says, you're a multi-million-dollar railroad company transporting toxic chemicals. But then he said you did bad, but then he praised his administration for what he called, quote, Herculean efforts to resolve the vast majority of East Palestine's problems.
I mean, this is the whole thing. It goes back to the last story we were talking about where they're trying to cover up the scientific results of data. Back in the day, we tested out our atomic bombs over the Marshall Islands. We created like 287 new types of cancer, and they concealed that for years.
New types of cool people.
Yeah, exactly. So anytime there's like a big whoopsie, they're going to fucking push it, kick that can down the road as long as they possibly can before they finally go, okay, yeah, you're right.
Exactly. That's why I am very much a proponent of all railroads, things of this nature that we do need in this country. They shouldn't just be built through the poorer areas. They should be built in the backyards of wealthy people everywhere, and I guarantee you they might be built slightly better in order to ensure that the planes don't go off the fucking tracks when they're carrying toxic chemicals.
It is interesting that eminent domain only affects poor people.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Ain't that something? It's weird. It's also interesting when Biden said it was a Herculean effort by his administration, the entire cabinet said, Hercules, 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 Hercules. Which is kind of a funny reference.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a reference to the Nutty Professor.
Eddie Murphy.
And in this case, of course, we had a nutty president.
Nice.
So the crash spewed harmful chemicals into the air and resulted in 115,000 gallons worth of carcinogenic vinyl chloride undergoing an open burn, which is really what you want. It displaced residents and led to reports of strange illnesses as well as death of livestock and, of course, eventually people. Once the cows start falling, old Aunt Mimi is next.
Yeah, for real.
So according to Michael Regan, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator, he showed up on February 22nd. He had 2 cameras in tow. And of course, because he's a shill for the government, he started drinking the local water supply himself. And he said, it's good. Look at this water. It's good. What you all worried about, East Palestine? Oh, you have rashes all over your skin because you had the audacity to take a shower before the job that doesn't pay you enough?
Right.
He promised the people that they were not in danger You're fine.
I
You're fine.
promise. Pinky promise.
It's a pinky promise. Look at me drinking the water. It's fine.
They didn't see his fingers twisted behind his back.
It's also a big difference between taking a small oxy pill and injecting yourself with 5 gallons of heroin. I took a sip of it. It's fine. So, Regan, this is what he said on October 17th, 2023. He says, since the disaster, EPA has collected more than 100 million air monitoring data points and more than 25,000 samples in and around the community. So look at that. They have over 100 million air monitoring data points.
That's pretty good.
I'm just going to go talk to Larry.
Yeah.
And be like, how's the cough? Is it still there? Are you still struggling? Oh, your eyes are bleeding?
He's just a skeleton.
Well, this schmuck for the EPA says he has 100 million air monitoring data points.
Oh.
So I think he knows what he's talking about. That's a lot of data points. Trust the science. I trust the science. So this data collection continues. This is what he says. This data collection continues, and ongoing science-based reviews show that the residents of East Palestine are not in danger from contaminated drinking water, soil, or air from derailment.
Okay.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So it turns out these chemicals do nothing, so why are they even there? Why are they even needed? They're just like oxygen.
Yeah, they're totally fine.
They're just fun. Naturally, there was a watchdog group, which is so pathetic that we need a fucking watchdog group because that's how bad our government is at lying to us. Or as good they are at lying to us, I suppose, even though it's so obvious on its face that they are full of shit. Mm-hmm. A watchdog group, they've been investigating the fallout. And they said that the Biden administration's approach, and why are we talking about Biden? Because again, we still have to remember this just happened, 2023. This just happened. People are still suffering. We can't just move on from every goddamn disaster because the next one's coming right around the bend. When another train can't properly bend around the bend, and an accident occurs once again. So the watchdog group said the Biden administration was flawed, flawed from the start. Emails obtained from the Freedom of Information Act. Those know that. Those who know it as FOIA.
Yeah.
Which is quite exciting. They say they didn't always test the right chemicals. They didn't test in the right locations. They didn't have the right detection limits. That's according to Government Accountability Project investigator Leslie Pacey. So they didn't test the right stuff.
Well, of course, they're going as far away from it as possible in the city limits to be like, there's nothing over here, but what about the site?
It's unbelievable. It's like investigating a school shooting and then going to a different school and being like, it's fine here.
Looks great. There's no bullet holes anywhere.
What's wrong with you? 17 died over there.
Yeah.
But here, crystal, so perfect. No blood whatsoever, splattered everywhere. And of course, the blood in this case is on the Biden administration and now the Trump administration for also not doing enough. Leslie Pacey continues saying the Biden administration wasn't worrying about public health, but rather public reassurances. This is the dumbest aspect of all of it, because if they actually did a good job, and this goes to Donnie too as well in his most recent, in his administration now, if they actually did a good job, they could get good press.
Right. Yeah,
They
exactly.
just start by saying, well, there's no way we can do this. We're going to fuck this up really bad. So let's just jump the gun, assume we fuck it up, and let's start the cover up now. So they say, this is again the Government Accountability Project, they say they delayed testing for dioxin, and then when they did the testing for dioxin and also did the testing in people's homes for other chemicals, they used Norfolk Southern contractors.
Oh my
And those contractors used equipment that wasn't correct.
It's like when the cops investigate themselves. They're like, oh, we cleared ourselves of all wrongdoing.
I think Karen Reed caused it.
Yeah,
I think Karen Reed caused the entire accident.
of course. It makes no sense. It has to happen.
They go on to say they completely botched this event from the very beginning. So-called aspect planes that monitor air quality weren't deployed due to apparent bad weather until 4 days after the derailment. That's what she added. She also says they should have been flown within 8 hours of the incident. The federal response also lacked robust monitoring of water supply and, of course, ignored any negative news when it came to the harmful chemicals that were poisoning the population of East Palestine. East Palestine natives got very, very ill. There are some new emails that came out from FEMA and the EPA, the National Security Council, and the Justice Department. They later settled with Norfolk Southern for $310 million, although I don't know where that money went.
I was going to say, does it go to anyone that actually needs it?
It goes to bureaucrats.
Oh, that's good.
It's going to go to the bureaucrats, and I think I'm going to need a beer and a crap after this. Although I'm still not drinking alcohol.
That's great.
Smoking sweet herb.
Crushing it.
Speaking of chemicals. So, it also shows that 1 year after the mayhem, administration officials were still discussing the need to, quote, develop a tripwire to identify cancer clusters. So it sounds like the world's worst breakfast cereal. Ooh, this morning we have cancer clusters.
Sugar-coated cancer clusters.
I like Life cereal better. No, we don't have that here.
We got Honey Smack clusters.
We have bad Life cereal because you have the audacity to be poor and live by a railway.
We have Fleeting Life.
Yes, indeed. So this is all coming to light now, again, years after, when mainstream trash media doesn't want to cover it because it's no longer fun clickbait. It's not the Malaysian plane. What happened to the Malaysian plane? It's not that. It involves poor people dying of cancer, so God knows who gives a shit.
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because they're just looking at dollar signs like, oh, they're going to put a strain on our healthcare system. We're going to have to pay for that. Then we're going to have to pay out in, settlement fees and all that shit.
What if we cut their Medicare on top of it?
Yeah.
It is nasty. So I wanted to bring that story up because we're finally getting more information about how the last administration and the current administration have not helped the people of East Palestine one bit. That $310 million that Norfolk Southern had to pay, of course, they're tax-free to begin with, so it's like whatever off the top. It's a decimal point at the best for them. It's a rounding error. They're fine paying that. It didn't go to anyone that actually needed it, and my understanding is there's zero being done to treat the people who are suffering there because, again, they're poor, in this case white, and they didn't vote for the Biden administration, so politics at play. They say, fuck them. Let them die the worst possible way.
They did this the whole way, too, because the two people that were stuck up in the International Space Station.
Oh, my God, 9 months.
Elon was like, I can get them now. And he's like, no. Because he was fucking friends with Trump.
That's the one thing with Elon. It's like sometimes, 1 out of every 50 times, you're like, all right, Elon, go do it.
Yeah, go save the people in
Go
space.
do it.
He did it.
And kick me some ketamine while you can.
Hey.
Why not? He's like, I wasn't on drugs. I was like, I hope you were on drugs.
Yeah, he's got a black eye in the Oval Office with a hat on, just like giggling to himself.
It's like an after picture.
Hitting the flag.
Yeah, bro. Making a little Nazi innuendo, which is funny because Cory Booker just did the exact same salute, where he touched his heart and then
give my love.
The Nazis
to
are
everyone.
Coming. I don't know if the Nazi ideology per se, although in some ways it is, but not full throated. But certainly the gestures are making a big comeback.
It's crazy.
Isn't that cool? Oh my Lord! So just again, remember that these administrations, unless we hold their feet to the fire, they are going to assume that we're going to forget the suffering of the people in this country that did absolutely nothing wrong other than to have the audacity to not live in a mansion in the suburbs of beautiful North Carolina. Why not? Instead, they lived in the rural areas that got completely and utterly fucked. Okay, let's move on to the Supreme Court decision. When it comes to Donald Trump's immigration policy, as we're seeing now, it is not good. Okay. What he said was during the campaign, they're going to arrest people who have committed crimes, gang members. I think the majority of Americans are like, yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Still need due process. Still disagree with sending them to prisons in other countries. Now they're going after 500,000 people who signed up under the Biden administration for basically asylum. And this was not a permanent law. They weren't technically U.S. citizens. However, they are registered within the United States government. Therefore, it makes them very easy to track. And if you want to get X amount of people out every single day of this country, what's easier than going to the people who literally gave you their name and where they live? So I'm completely I disagree with the administration's approach to deporting these individuals. Again, they're not the ones that are the problem. There are problem people in this country that should not be here, and we all understand that there needs to be something done about that. These people that they're deporting are restaurant workers, are people who are just here trying to survive and live that American dream. I'm sure there's some schmucks along the way, but for the most part, the people who went about it as right as you possibly can, because again, there's no pathway to citizenship in this country. There's very little ways to actually become a citizen, unless of course you buy it, which also helps.
Yeah.
These people really went about it as honest as they possibly could, and for the Trump administration to be targeting them, I completely disagree with.
Yeah, of course.
That being said, the Supreme Court has allowed these immigration deportations, or these deportations of immigrants, to go forward. They were halted when a lower court judge said the administration doesn't have the right to do that. This was one judge, it was in a liberal area. And the Supreme Court decision isn't so much about immigration, it's more about the power of the lower courts. So what the Supreme Court has said, and this is why, again, it was a 7-2 decision, Jackson and Sotomayor voting against the government, and the other 7, including, again, Kagan, voting with the Trump administration. They have said that that would make it basically untenable for any president to govern. And so if you are a Democrat or if you're a left-leaning person, if this is allowed to go through and any lower court, one judge from any lower court can say, hey, we're issuing an injunction, you can't do that, it could halt an entire administration. Again, I don't want the immigration policy that Donald Trump has put forward to continue, but the courts are not the way that this is going to be solved. So from the Supreme Court perspective, they made the right decision despite the fact that the immigration policy being put forth is not the one that I would support. But if you have, let's say there's a Democratic governor or president, and they want to say marijuana is legal for everyone, and then a lower court judge out in bumblefuck Arkansas is like, no, it ain't. Next thing you know, it's not, and it has to be tied up in the courts for a long time. It would set a bad precedent, and again, handicap the office of president, no matter who is in that position. Right now, it is obviously the controversial Donnie Trump, specifically the controversy regarding his immigration policy. So I wanted to make that clear because a lot of people are talking about how this is a massive gain for Donald Trump and his immigration policy, which it is by proxy. But really what the Supreme Court is talking about is one justice from the lower courts can't stop an entire administration's initiatives.
Gotcha.
So that's what this is really about, despite all of the headlines that are much more sexy when it comes to making this about immigration, which is the catalyst for the judge saying that he wants this policy to be done. But does that judge in the lower courts have the power to do that? The Supreme Court at this point has said no, and I do believe that that is the right decision.
Sure.
So that is, I just want to parse that a little bit. And that's the difficult thing, because as we saw with getting rid of the filibuster, for example, that's why all you need is 51-49. All of these things come back to bite you in the ass. So for the time being, it might be politically advantageous to say, this is going to stop Donnie. But then when your boy or your gal is in office, it would also stop them.
Right.
Donald Trump got elected. It is what it is. He fucking got the popular vote and obviously the Electoral College by a freaking landslide. So he has the right to do this for better or for worse. So I just wanted to clear that up a little bit on the Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court this Friday lifted a judge's order that had halted the revocation of immigrants, and that would be for more than 500,000 Venezuelan, Cuban, Haitians, and Nicaraguan immigrants. On May 19th, it lifted another judge's order preventing the termination of, quote, temporary protection status for more than 300,000 Venezuelan immigrants. Cubans are the interesting one for me here because Cuban support for Donald Trump is actually fairly high. He won Florida, and obviously Cubans in America, specifically in southern Florida, they remember what it was like to live under Castro, so they're much more Republican in leaning, even though they tend to they are socially conservative in many ways as well. I think economically they would like to see more of the democratic policies put forth, but on a social perspective, I think they are much more in line with the Republican Party as a whole.
Definitely.
And obviously, because of that, they went with Donald Trump, and Trump would court them by saying, you guys are one of the good ones. Don't worry about it. But Cubans are still going to be round up and sent on out of here. So, in some other cases, the justices have ruled that the administration must treat migrants fairly as required under the U.S. Constitution's guaranteed of due process. So that's a whole nother conversation, and this is something that the courts are going to have to take up very soon, because these immigrants are not getting due process, and many of these people are actually born here, and birthright citizenship is protected in the Constitution. So for them to be born here and then shipped off to a foreign prison is unconstitutional, and at some point the courts will have to take that issue up. And that will be different than what's happening right now, again, which is a conversation of how much power do the judges actually have.
And how much power do they have to allow all these ICE agents to show up in masks and not identify themselves and just rip people into vans?
It's crazy.
That is the scariest part. It's
Yep, I was reading about that in Reason magazine, and there is no law that says law enforcement has to announce themselves.
Oh my
They
God.
just show up. And the scary thing is, you could not be ICE and just start kidnapping people.
yeah,
And people wouldn't
it has
even
been
know.
happening.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
So it is horrible. That's why Kid Rock has stepped away from his restaurant, the Kid Rock Donkey Honky Tonk in Nashville.
Real
because-
name?
Something like it's like the Donkey Honky Tonk, something like that. It's got like 4 floors on it, and then there's no windows or anything, so people keep on getting drunk and falling.
Oh, my
And it's right
God.
outside the Johnny Cash Museum, so it's like there's just bodies all the time and shit. But Kid Rock is like, oh, I can't look Jose in the face. He's my friend, but I guess he's got to go. So anyway, that's one of the issues that I wanted to discuss today. Let's move on. Let's discuss something going on in the world. Let's talk about Israel. Let's talk about Palestine. And let's talk how it has come home to roost. It's not just on college campuses. Indeed, in Colorado, a man, he has no shirt on. Relatively nice tits. Good. He's kind of buff. He's pro-Palestine.
You say nice tits, he's buff?
He's kind of buff.
Buff with tits.
Yeah, no, I mean he's got a dad bod.
Yeah.
He's got a stepdad bod.
Yeah, exactly. An alcoholic stepdad bod.
Yeah, he's got to have fun.
He's got no shirt but sunglasses on.
Anyway, he wants to free Palestine, right? And there was a
This has got to be the guy to do it.
this is the one guy that's going to do it.
Yeah.
He's got no shirt on, but he's got his sunglasses on because you have to protect your sun. You have to protect your eyes from the UVs.
And the fire.
So there was a march. It was a humanitarian march. It was run by Jewish leaders. And this Colorado dude, he was all mad because he was like, screw this. I don't want to watch peaceful marching in my fine country that allows for peaceful protest because we have a First Amendment here. So he decided to firebomb the humanitarian walk.
Yeah. Well, he's also an Egyptian man.
Okay, and what do you want to say negative about the Egyptians?
Well, you're saying, no, there's my country, which it could be anybody's country.
It is his country.
But he outstayed his visa, and I think he's pissed about getting the humanitarian asylum thing revoked.
Well, this isn't going to help him.
No, it's not.
I'll be like, hey, you're not even supposed to be here. You're firebombing shit. Yeah. If you're not supposed to be here, at least like be nice.
They looked cold. Mm-hmm. Just trying to defrost them.
Yeah, maybe Colorado in the summer.
Yeah,
it's real nippy. Judging by the man's nipples, it's not that cold. So it was a Colorado demonstration. It was firebombed. What is being called a terrorist? By what is being called a terrorist. It was a peaceful humanitarian walk. It was to raise support for the hostages still held captive by Hamas. And of course, I take the two sides approach here on this one. Release some hostages, please, Hamas. Mm-hmm. Let's do it. Everyone should be able to live. And what happened on October 7th, what was that, a year ago?
Yeah.
Heinous. Absolutely awful. No one should ever have to go through those things whatsoever. Of course, we can talk about the response here in a second. This is not the proper response by this fella in Colorado. So according to Rachel Amuru, she is the leader of Boulder Run for Their Lives. That sounds scary.
it sounds like Indiana Jones.
Boulder Run for Their Lives chapter.
Run from the boulder.
That's a scary name.
Yeah.
But anyway, they say this was a humanitarian walk. This was not a protest. And then they say, I'm distraught. Her group was holding its weekly walk for the hostages in Boulder just after 1 p.m. when a man started hurling Molotov cocktails into the crowd, which I haven't heard of a Molotov cocktail in a long time.
No, yeah, it's the only cocktail you can't drink.
It really is. I mean, I guess you could.
It's going to hurt.
Is it gasoline in there or is it grain liquor?
It could be either, but I believe they were saying it was alcohol. So yeah, it's probably Everclear or something, yeah.
Well, my God, I mean, one for you, one for the Molotov. One for me, one for the Molotov. Come on.
Hey, why not?
I mean, I do like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm sober. What are you using the booze for? Molotov cocktails. It's actually really helped me cut back on my booze because I just keep on exploding it.
I'm just burning it.
I'm burning it. It's not right what this man did.
Yeah.
So it was 1 p.m. A man started hurling Molotov cocktails into the crowd. He injured 8 people. The people were 52 to 88 years old. So these are just old people getting out there walking around. At least one is left in critical condition with serious burn wounds. I just finished playing Days Gone Remastered.
Ooh.
Fantastic zombie game.
Nice.
Maybe one of the best of all time. You play a biker, and it's the post-apocalyptic. It's post-apocalyptic, and you got to go find your wife. Is she dead? Is she not dead? You'll have to find out to play.
Is she zombie?
She ain't no fucking zombie, you fucking asshole.
Oh.
That's the love of his life.
Yeah.
You're going to call her a zombie?
Well, she could have been turned into a zombie.
I'll tell you one thing, she's not turned into a zombie.
Ooh.
Okay?
Wow.
God. Why would you even wish that upon her? Anyway, there's a Molotov cocktail component to that game.
Oh.
And it is fantastic.
Nice.
But they kill a lot of zombies and they kill a lot of people. So this guy sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy that he didn't kill anyone. But good God, what are you doing, pal?
Very lucky, yeah.
So he was screaming anti-Israel rhetoric, and then he also said free Palestine, while calling the walkers child murderers. He was taken into custody. Yes. Aaron Brooks, a regular with the Run for Their Lives, showed up after the attack, and he said it was completely chaotic. He said, I saw smoke, I saw blood.
Ooh.
It ain't right. Solomon, he was just 10 feet away from him. He yelled, you burned our people. Solomon was still yelling when he approached the attacker, who had a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. The makeshift flamethrower, I think that might be stretching it.
Yeah.
Because I saw the thing. I'm not sure if it was really a flamethrower.
It's just a spray bottle.
Yeah.
Like you'd do to your cat, except it was filled with grain alcohol.
I guess it was, yeah. I guess it was.
You got a few people.
You could probably throw in some of those heavy IPAs they drink out in Colorado. Those will light right up.
Double chocolate stout.
The bloat.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he does have that bloat. So the guy says, Solomon asked the suspect, he said, why the fuck did you do this? Which I love that. It's like, why the fuck did you do this? What are you doing?
Hey, dipshit.
Yes.
Fuck is your problem?
He was yelling at a crazy person who just burned all of his friends. FBI Director Kash Patel, who I've actually met at News Corps. I can't believe that he's the head of the FBI, but hey, what do you know? He calls this a targeted terror attack.
Yeah.
So again, they were there requesting that the prisoners who are still being held by Hamas be released. And obviously, I think that would be a fantastic beginning to peace talks. Of course, Hamas has zero trust with Israel right now because Benjamin Netanyahu continues to act very aggressively, specifically in Gaza. And obviously, that is why the sentiment, the pro, I don't want to see Gazan children killed sentiment is not wrong, right? Mm-hmm. No one wants to see any of these children hurt. And the entire situation has been horrific for the past 60 plus years. And it needs to be, the two-state solution didn't work. And obviously what's going on right now with the expansion and the settlements, which are still going on in Israel, almost it's on the other side of Israel. Those settlements are expanding. No one's talking about that. They're talking obviously about what's going on in Gaza because that's where all the big booms are. That's where all the fire is. And that's where all the press is.
Yeah.
It is beyond difficult to comprehend how complicated it is. And, you know, they always say, you know, if you kill one member of, let's say, the Taliban, or in this case, Hamas, you've just created 5 new members because they're going to be real pissed off and they're going to go defend their family member, so on and so forth. And this is why you have generational warfare, which is what we've seen in this region, which is why, you know, when you had, in the last Trump administration, you had Jared Kushner going over there, be like, I think I'm going to solve it. It's like, no, fancy, nice Jewish boy.
No.
You're not going to solve it.
Yeah.
It is hyper personal and so embedded now in those cultures that it's going to take truly, I will say, an act of God.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to stay as far as I can away from it because I feel that way. Like there's nothing I can do. I just feel so helpless in the situation.
It is devastating.
But I read a little bit more about it yesterday, and all the people who were Palestinians that were working in Israel the night before the attacks, they're all missing.
Oh,
they were all taken.
It's horrible.
It's like,
it's
holy
horrible.
shit. They knew what they were going to do the day before. They took all the guys that were in their country out already, and oof.
It's absolutely awful. And as of May of 28th of this year, there has been 54,700 Palestinians killed. And then on the Israeli side, you have 1,706. That is, so there's been around, let's see, about 1,000 more since the initial attack, which killed 800 plus on October 7th. And now, again, we have about 55,000 Palestinians killed. So if you're going by number, if this is a football game, one team is winning by a fucking landslide.
Oof.
And if Netanyahu had any humanitarianism in him whatsoever, other than just shrewd, cold, hard, political, aggressive military power, that's what he relies on, is the strong military power to keep him in power, this war could come to an end tomorrow. But obviously, they don't want it to because there's money involved. And this is, again, keeping a lot of people in the position of power because do you want to, as Abe Lincoln said, change horses in midstream when we're in the middle of a war? It's the same thing that George W. Bush said in 2004 when he fucked up the invasion of Iraq so damn bad and Afghanistan. He's like, yeah, I fucked it up. But do you want to trust anybody else?
Can I paint all my war victims now?
Can I please make a book out of this? You're going to love me in 15 fucking years. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about Donnie. It doesn't matter, sure. But I see these things where it's like, I can't believe I never thought I'd miss George W. Bush. No, you don't miss George W. Bush.
Right.
The reason we still have so much cancer is because he stopped stem cell research in 2000 because stem cells are people.
Yeah.
Which they're not.
They're parts of people.
They're not.
But they're necessary. We need them.
I agree. You know what, Kyle? I agree.
Yeah.
I'll agree. I'm getting worked up. But W is no saint. Good God almighty.
No, definitely.
The worst war in American history. I can't believe I missed W. Shut up. It's insane to me. Anyway, 70% of the Palestinians killed were in residential buildings or similar housing where women and children reside. So this is not a war between two armies. This is an army with a war against a people. And that is the big difference. And obviously, I understand the terrorist aspect of it, and Hamas is not good. But don't forget, the reason that Hamas is in power is because Benjamin Netanyahu let them get into power. He was the one who wanted them to control Palestine, so then he would have a boogeyman. And the leaders of Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu, they're still shaking hands and sucking balls behind closed doors. This entire thing is contrived by disgusting human beings who crave nothing but power with their bloodlust. And so Hamas is, as an institution, just as in line, they're in line in many ways with the military operations of Israel as well, which is just so fucking disgusting to think about. So right now, the war continues. It's not as in the headlines once again because it's been going on for so long. And lol, what season are we in? What season is this war in?
Yeah, Jesus.
I liked it when Charlie Sheen was young. What war movie was he in? Hot Shots.
Hot Shots Part 2.
Hot Shots Part 2. I liked the war then. Charlie was young. Yeah. He started doing Tiger Blood and got all weird. So the war continues and no end in sight. And I don't have any. I wish I had a fun button.
Yeah.
Where I was like, and this is the solution.
That's what someone just said in the Patreon chat. Jonas said, controversial question. Is there a button anyone can press just to stop this war? I feel like people are under the impression that there is. And Farpoint Station said, yes, Jonas, but that button is Netanyahu's prostate.
Milk the man. Get the man milk.
We need a clear-headed man.
Good Lordy. Find the bean on this guy.
For real.
Again, if you want to comment, you can go to patreon.com/diebud. Join the conversation.
Yes.
All right. Well, just lastly, let's talk about something back in America that is positive. At Cal State Los Angeles' newest college campus. It's in Chino. And it is helping incarcerated men find a second chance.
Nice.
It is surrounded by barbed wire and security, and there are watchtowers in the distance with people with guns. However, it's a state prison in Chino that promises incarcerated men an opportunity at a diploma and a second chance at life.
Nice.
This is needed when it comes to recidivism. Say that word 10 times fast. It's a 49% drop in recidivism when people get an education behind bars.
Good.
So it cuts it in half. Good indeed. But as we were just talking about, and as we talked about on the last episode, money, money, money. Mm-hmm. So there's many people who don't want that.
Right.
I'll never forget, I was talking to the owner of a comedy club in New York City called The Stand, which is a stage that I could not stand on. It was too short.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the ceiling there?
Yeah.
Fucking short.
It
I had to
was.
sit down.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. And he fancies himself a real cool guy. This guy, his name is Pat something, and he works in the prisons. He does all the prison meals. That's his company.
Right, I forgot about that.
And he was like, "Yeah, I definitely don't want weed to be legal. It would fuck with my job."
Oh my goodness.
So it's not just when we talk about money in prisons. It's the guy who works in the prison. He's in charge of the food. He's like, "No, don't mess with my job. If people weren't in here for weed, it's going to cut out 20% of my meals. I'm going to get a pay cut."
But then people who are higher looking for meals, so you go find them.
Well, but not in prison. You can't be stoned in prison. I mean, you can, but
then you find people out of prison, you feed them.
Well, that would require him to care about people. Or have any. Honestly, if there was a diner that's like prison food diner and it tastes like prison, I don't know how well it would sell.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I guess it could be Waffle House. But Waffle House is great, and that's made by prisoners.
Yeah, and they fight people. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
People fuck with the wrong cooks over there.
Do not fuck with the Waffle House cook.
Beat your ass.
Absolutely. So, going back to the positive story that is happening in California for the Institution for Men. It has promised, again, a diploma and second chance opportunity. It's got brand new classrooms, and it's got refurbished tutoring spaces.
Oh.
66 men will join the first cohort of students at Cal State LA's newest learning campus for incarcerated men.
I don't like the use of cohorts there.
Cohort?
That's usually what you say about the defendants, that they're in fucking on trial. Like this guy and his cohorts came and beat my son's ass.
Yeah, it makes me sound like a bunch of piggies stole the wrong grain. Look at that fucking cohort. Look at that group of cohorts over there. Sounds like Chris Christie when he's eating dinner. Hello, remember how fat that asshole is?
That guy.
I hate that piece of trash. Mm-hmm. Piece of trash. Remember when he and Barack Obama formed the number 10?
Yeah.
And they were walking on the beach together?
I remember when he was wearing like baseball pants.
Yeah, and his big old camel toe was hanging out.
Yeah, big fupa.
So gross. Then he killed that young girl because she wanted some weed in New Jersey because she had really, really bad seizures. But then he's like, you don't get any weed. And then I think he arrested her dad.
Yeah, and then he shut down the bridge and people died because they were trying to get over it.
That one woman died. Because I only take health advice from the morbidly obese.
Yes.
So we got 66 men. They're going to join the students at this Cal State program. The program, it's starting in the fall, is through Cal State's LA's nearly decade-old prison graduation initiative. It's an in-person classroom-based prison education system that gives inmates a chance at a college degree. May 27th of this fine year, there was a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Although I'm sure they had to use a plastic.
Did they stab it?
No, that was the plastic scissors. No scissors. Plastic scissors.
The prison shiv.
We could also do that. I'm going with kind of a different joke, but you're going with a shiv joke.
Yeah.
I'm going with plastic scissors as a joke. That's the kind of stuff you get here on OK Bud Politics.
Highbrow.
2 highbrow jokes coming at you.
Wow.
It also includes incoming students. They watched in excitement as officials unveiled the new Sim College campus, the newly renovated space. It was constructed and located in a prison facility. 3 new classrooms equipped with laptops, Wi-Fi, and large electronic displays for learning. So they're doing all right.
Hey.
And obviously, I'm sure to get into this program, you must have a perfect record in prison. There's only 66 dudes that are going to be in it, so it's not like everyone's going.
Right.
So don't be like, oh, I could commit a crime, shouldn't commit a crime, because then I'm going to get education. It's like, no, it's not going to fucking happen.
Imagine if it's a huge uptick in crime so they can get into the free program.
I don't think it's going to happen that way. I really don't think it's worth it.
Oh, boy.
Just the ride on that bus alone.
Oof.
No AC.
I learned a regular bus.
Well, yeah, that's true. So it took 2 years to construct. The building serves as a stark contrast to the typical nondescript prison exterior. This is according to student Eric Jones. He says, I am extremely happy for us to have this here because it extends us an opportunity to further our education, something that we at Chino thought we'd never have the opportunity to do. So it's very important because these people will be getting out. They're going to be on our streets. And I definitely want them to be more educated than less educated because, again, the only thing that you tend to learn in prison is how to be a better criminal. And that is not what we want when the people get out. Of course, prisons specifically in California are extremely overcrowded. And for everyone being like, oh, the liberal bastion that is California, it is the 5th worst state in the country to be a black man in when it comes to incarcerated rates.
Jeez.
They also just outlawed menthol cigarettes. So
Yeah.
that'll be good. That'll lead to a couple more Eric Garners, I'm sure.
Oh, God.
So incarcerated individuals who participate in correctional education, as I said, are 48% less likely to return to prison. So that is extremely good. And that is a positive story coming from OK Bud Politics.
Wow.
And I think that's where we're going to leave it today. So
Yeah.
we solved... well, what did we solve today? We saw East Palestine, treat those people better.
Yeah.
We're going to shed a light on that. We did not come close to solving Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much steer clear of any Palestine right now.
Yeah, it is. Or just stop. Just relax. Just don't stop. Just everybody stop.
Yeah.
Would that work?
Yeah, collaborate and listen.
There you go. Maybe they need hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Everybody
hip
could
hop.
use some 90s hip hop.
Yep. Joni Ernst, she's still a bitch. So we learned that. And we shouldn't be cutting Medicare and Medicaid, despite the fact that, yeah, everyone does. But how do they die in the wealthiest country on earth?
Yeah.
That really frickin' matters. Also, we need to treat our veterans better. And the Veterans Affairs people should not be working against the veterans by telling scientists and doctors not to publish journals that shed light on how fucking bullshit our veteran care is in this country. Lastly, let's go to the comment section.
Yes, so Haley was saying her partner is a veteran. He was stationed in Afghanistan. He has chronic lung problems from the burn pits they had, burning garbage and tires and human excrement.
I have chronic lung problems from weed.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to make jokes to that.
Yeah, she said we need to care for our veterans, which I can't agree more.
It's unbelievable. And I have some experience with my VFWs because I go watch Kyle play his pool.
Yep.
And those places just remind you, it gives a face to the people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of mutual friends, Pete and his gal, who go to the same sports bar that we go to. I mean,
Yep.
it's crazy. These are real human beings, and they've just been through everything.
Yeah.
And it must be we get upset when we look at the government and how it's acted and how it treats its people. When you go fight for the government, I can't even imagine how just infuriating that must be.
When we were talking about the sugar smacked cancer clusters, Chris G said, oops, all cancer.
Oops, all cancer.
Which I thought was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Farpoint said, hearing Ben talk politics again is curing my impotence.
Hey, get hard, cump.
If I conceive tonight, we're going to call him Kyle. Hey.
What?
There we go.
I thought I was the one. What?
So you were the foreplay.
But he's going to call it Kyle? What's wrong with Ben?
And then everybody was talking about how horny they were after that.
Oh, good. Go have sex with each other. I haven't had sex in weeks. Months. I'm going to find a fucking wife out here one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, L.A., believe it or not. Not easy. I don't know why. All right, everyone, hail yourself. We're going to be back later on this week. And, of course, check out all the OK Bud shows and Death in Entertainment. This week, we've got a tale for you. For you Packers fans out there, listen up. And as I mentioned to the Patreon before the show, we were going to be doing a short, maybe 15, 20-minute episode for Death and Entertainment on the man who created a show called Sports Science. He ended up committing suicide, which is so sad. I can't believe it. That show was fantastic. And also the actor who voiced John Redcorn from King of the Hill, he was shot by his freaking neighbor.
It's so stupid.
Dale Gribble. All right. Thank you for listening. Hail yourself once again. Bye.